After 20 years of marriage, the 39-year-old sexy mother of my two girls and the love of my life announced to me she was going on a date with a friend from work tomorrow night. Helen and I were teenagers when we married. We were dating for less than a year when she became pregnant with my baby girl. We were madly in love and got married and welcomed Christy into the world 7 months later. We've had a wonderful marriage, full of love and two beautiful children who both love their parents. I started my own landscaping business that flourished into a multi-million-dollar business, which allowed us to live a wonderful, fulfilling life. In a million years, I would never have expected a speech like that from my wife. It hit me like a ton of bricks as I sat on the couch with a glass of scotch as she explained that since the kids have gone off to universities, she's been depressed and unhappy. In my eyes, we had the perfect marriage, and this news hit me hard. Helen explained that Tommy from accounting has been a close friend and has been helping her through her depression, which was news to me. That was odd, because she had said nothing about being depressed or even being upset. The thought of my wife allowing another man to help her with her feelings was painful, but hearing that she wanted to be with him mentally killed me. It turns out that Tommy Boy is married with 3 little girls and portrays himself as some sort of counselor when, in fact, he is just a predator, ready to strike at any unsuspecting victim. Sexy married women are an easy target for Tommy, as he knows they are vulnerable, with no strings attached. John, I can't do this behind your back, and I hope you understand, but I just need to do this for me. I know it sounds selfish, but give me this one night to see how it goes. Of course, I was enraged, and I wanted to scream, but I knew my wife, and I knew that this was going to happen. Once she decided to do something, there was no way back. When she finished her announcement, I sat there expressionless, just staring at her as she nervously sat across from me, alone, on the love seat. The silence was deafening as I refused to allow myself to speak. Instead, I calmly finished my scotch, stood, and started to leave the room. John, don't ignore me. Stop your pouting and childish behavior. This is happening, and I needed to tell you before I did anything. I would never cheat on you, and I need you to know everything that happens. We've always been honest with each other, and I will never lie to you, baby. I stood there looking at this woman with what must have been the look of death because I watched her put her knees to her chest and curl up into a ball as I looked back at her. Silently, I went up to our bedroom and packed 2 days' worth of clothes and toiletries and then again, without a word, walked past Helen and out to my car in the garage. She followed, crying out as I walked past her. Please, John, don't go. Everything will be okay. It's just one date, that's all, and it will be all over. Just one night. Surely you can give me that after 20 years. I shook my head as I drove off, not believing what she was spewing out. I checked into the Ritz-Carlton that Thursday evening. Yes, the Ritz-Carlton, for $100 a night, and I didn't give a shit. If I was going to be in pain, I was going to at least enjoy my accommodations. The calls and texts started immediately, and after sending one text back, I blocked her number. I simply texted I would not be in contact with her until I came back home on Saturday after her betrayal. I'm sure those words cut her deeply. The next day at work, I had my secretary block any calls from my wife and told security not to let her in the building. I had already put a plan into action, and I would not allow it to alter. I'm John Casey and a man of action. At work and with my friends, I'm known as the man in charge, the guy to get things done. People know I do what I say and look up to me for leadership. At home, I've become the docile, laid-back guy, eager to please and get away from my macho alter ego. It's worked for the last 20 years. However, it seems I've miscalculated the effect. In hindsight, I should have been more demanding and unflappable in my home life, but I loved my wife and made her the queen. I remember reading once and chuckled at the quote, "But I'm not laughing now, treat her like a queen, and she will treat you like a servant." Those words became my reality, but I would not let that happen. Friday morning, I called my brother, who is a detective in Miami, and asked him for some help. I explained what I needed, and he dialed in one of his associates, Peter Clift, a private investigator. "Peter, this is Sergeant Davis. How are you, my friend? Listen, we are on the phone with my brother, and he needs your help tonight. I'm calling in a favor and need you to have one of your men follow his wife tonight." "Yes, tonight. We need to see who she is with and get me as much information as you can on this guy by Saturday morning. I want you to run his plates and get me his home address and phone number and text it to me tonight. We would like some photos of the couple. You know what we need. That can come over tomorrow, but tonight we just want the info on this man." "Davis, this is short notice, but I owe you big time, so I'll do it. You want the perp's phone and address tonight as soon as possible, and the rest of the photos and things we dig up tomorrow. What are you giving me to work with? Yes, that's what we need for now. I'll send over the wife's address, what time she's leaving along with the first name of her date. I'm told he works with her at Brokers Unlimited, and his name is Tommy, so this shouldn't be too hard for you, my friend. His wife gets home at 5 p.m., but we don't know what time the date starts, so you'll need a man outside the house before 5 p.m. to follow the wife when he picks her up. That's all we need. Send me the wife's address, and I will take care of this for you, my friend. John listened with great focus to the conversation and smiled as his brother disconnected. His plan was coming together, and he was going to shock his unsuspecting cheating wife. John's plan called for immediate action as time was of the essence, so during the cheating couple's dinner, John was also going to visit Tommy Boy's wife and explain what was happening and where their spouses were at that moment. The next call was to one of his longtime friends, Joe, and asked him for the number to the escort service he used. Joe had a bitter divorce and was never getting married again. He took care of his sexual needs with escorts, and now John finally understood why. No cheating, just sex, and probably much less expensive than having a cheating wife. The call went well, and he was able to arrange an overnight date with a young, sexy blonde. He offered an additional $1,000 tip because of the unusual circumstances. John explained he was looking for the girlfriend experience and that he was going through a breakup. The girlfriend experience is an upcharge where the girl treats you like she's your loving girlfriend from the moment you meet. Loving, sexy, and satisfying. He explained there would not be any trouble, but the girl should understand the situation in case the wife shows up. He explained that if that happened, she was also not to disclose that she was a paid escort, but a girl he met last night. John knew his wife would show up and see them in bed together. If she wanted a date with another man, he was going to give her back the same treatment with some extra flair. They were to meet at his hotel for a drink and get to know each other before the fun started, and then his plan would go into action. Being in real estate, Helen had an open house every Saturday and never got home before 6 p.m. It was one of her busiest days, and this Saturday would not be any different. Going back to Thursday evening when Helen made her declaration of independence. After he left, she sat on the couch thinking about their conversation as she spoke angrily to an empty room. I can't believe he acted so childish. The way he walked out without saying a word, what a jerk. Helen tried to call John and text him and became more aggravated because he wasn't responding until that one text message arrived. The one text message that mentioned betrayal made her cringe and rethink her plans. When she considered the date as just a fun night out and not cheating, she put the thoughts of betrayal out of her head. She thought to herself, it's just one night of some fun. John will just have to get over it, and we'll be back to normal. He's overreacting, but he will forgive me and I'll make it up to him tomorrow night. He can't refuse my pussy, and I know exactly how to make him get over this. Friday night, she came home to an empty house and considered her plans one more time. Should she go out with Tommy or cancel and call John to come back? She was looking forward to a fun night out and knew she would go through with her plans. She took a warm bath, shaved her legs, put on her best scented lotion, and sat at the makeup table, turning her pretty face into a sultry woman. She saw the sexy girl looking back in the mirror and smiled as she finished styling her long hair. Then she removed the tags from the short, sexy dress and hung on the mirror. She slid on the stockings she had never worn for John and attached them to the new garter belt she had purchased at Nordstrom's earlier that day. As she attached the stockings and gently touched them, she remembered all the times John had asked her to dress sexy. She felt a sharp pang of guilt when she thought back to Valentine's Day when John brought home a sexy lingerie set from Victoria's Secrets and how she acted. She could still see the pain in his face when she asked him if he thought she was a slut and that she wouldn't wear those types of things. She hadn't moved for over a minute as she considered how she purchased her own pair of slutty stockings and garters, which she was about to wear them for another man. This gave her pause, and for the first time, she considered breaking her date and calling things off. She can still hear John's conversation accusing her of betrayal. It didn't take too long for her to get over her guilt about giving something to her date that she never gave to John. She stepped into the silky dress, zipped it up, and was happy with her decision not to wear a bra. The result was amazing. She stood in front of the full-length mirror looking at her long legs in the black nylons and high heels, her large breasts swaying under the dress as her pert nipples poked out from the thin material. Oh my, I look like a little slut, but it's so much fun. I can't wait to see Tommy's face when he sees me, but I'll have to clarify that there is no sex tonight, just dinner and dancing. She tried to convince herself that it was just a date and nothing else, but deep down she knew she had desires she had to control. The excitement of going out on a date with Tommy was all she had thought about for the last month, and it was going to happen tonight. She was going to have fun, despite her husband's childish behavior. Helen knew John would understand and let her have her fun because he always let her have her way. She loved him for that. That's when the final phone call from John came in. John decided to give Helen one more chance to stop this runaway train and save their marriage. It was hard for John to swallow his pride and make this call, but his love for Helen was still deep, and he would take her back if she would stop this from happening. He planned to give away his dignity, humiliate himself, and beg her to rethink this and not go out on that date. Helen felt nervous and guilty as she saw that John was calling. She saw how sexy she looked in the mirror and knew that her thoughts were less than honorable but really needed to hear from John and make him understand and accept her decision. "John, thank you for calling me. I miss you so much and I love you. When are you coming home, baby?" "Hello, Helen. I love you too, and that's why I decided to call you. I miss you so much and my heart is breaking because of what you said you wanted to do. I'm begging you to not go out on this date. Please, just stay home, and I'll come over and do whatever you want. I swear I'll make you happy and be the man you need me to be. If it's something I'm not doing, I can fix things and I just want to be with you. Can you please call this date off for us and save our marriage? Please, Helen?" She heard his voice breaking and felt bad for John. It sounded weak and pathetic. Her big, strong man was crying and begging her to stop, which gave her an unwarranted feeling of power. She knew he loved her and that John would forgive her as long as he understood her feelings. Their history together, along with their children and his love, was too strong, and she knew they would be together forever. "Oh, John, I love you so much and I can't wait to spend the rest of our lives together. I need to do this tonight, and it has nothing to do with our love for each other. This is just one night for me to get out and do something foolish. Please understand and give me this one time, and I promise I'll be yours again forever. I know you're hurting and I'm sorry for that, but you're making much more out of this than what it really is. I am just having dinner and some drinks with a friend, that's all. Nothing is going to happen, and I'll be home tonight and yours forever. I know you will understand this when it's all over. Tomorrow we will talk and you can reclaim me as your wife. I love you, John, but I have to go," she said with tears in her eyes. She wanted to get off the phone but heard her husband pleading as she ended the call. She wiped her eyes, being careful not to ruin her makeup, and looked at herself in the mirror and spoke to her reflection. "I'm sure he thinks I'm being a bitch about this, but John, I'm sorry I have to do this for me. Please don't be mad." She fixed her hair, touched up her lipstick, sprayed on her perfume, and tried to get John out of her mind. Back in his hotel room, John heard the call end and just stared at his phone. John wiped his eyes and felt the anger again build inside. He had just begged and pleaded with his wife not to go on this date, and she basically told him it was happening and that tomorrow all will be good and be an understanding husband. A feeling of grief overwhelmed him as he realized at that moment that he had lost her, the only woman he had loved and been with for the last 20 years. Peter, the PI, was in his white van across the street from their home just before 5 p.m. and watched Helen pull into the garage. An hour later, he watched as a car pulled into the driveway. Peter took the license plate, made some calls, and 10 minutes later, he was sending Davis and John the info he requested. The home phone number and address arrived in both Davis and John's phones before the couple even left for their date. When Tommy came into the house, he saw the sadness in Helen's eyes. He realized that she was having a moment of insecurity and guilt. He's seen it all before. The wife suddenly realizes that she's doing something outside the marriage and reconsiders her plans. He knew he had to act quickly and knew exactly what to say. "Helen, what's wrong? You look so sad. Tommy, maybe we shouldn't do this. I've been thinking about John and how he asked me not to go out with you. I'm feeling so guilty and like I've already betrayed him," she said, with a tear falling down her face. Tommy rushed over to the couch and held her and used his experience to solve her problems. It took about an hour, but he was a ladies' man and understood women's feelings and thought processes. He was going to use his skills to manipulate her into changing her mind. He loved a challenge. "It's okay, Helen. We don't have to do this, and I totally understand. You've never been able to go out with anyone by yourself, even to dinner or a movie. He just doesn't understand we are just friends. Guys like him want to protect their wives from predators, but if he only knew how I care for you as a friend, I bet he wouldn't mind. I have to be honest. I'm disappointed that we can't be together tonight, but I understand. I was really looking forward to your company and I've really wanted to try out that new restaurant. Hey, I've got an idea. Why don't we just have a nice dinner and then I'll bring you home? Surely, he wouldn't be upset with you having dinner with a friend? His easygoing attitude convinced Helen that dinner would be okay, and besides, she was all dressed and deep down wanted this anyway. At 7 p.m., Peter watched the couple pull away and head for a downtown restaurant and reported where they ended up to Davis and John. He continued to keep them updated all evening. The photos were easy to take, and Peter spent the next 4 hours taking photos of the two at dinner, holding hands, entering the dance club, dancing together, kissing, and acting like a loving couple. He also took a few videos of them slow dancing while Tommy rubbed her ass, fondled her breast, and kissed her on the dance floor. Peter sent all the photos and videos over before sunrise the next morning. At precisely 8 p.m., John called Helen's dad, Brian. They had been close friends and golf buddies for years and gave him the bad news. "Hello, Brian. It's John." "Hi, John. Are we still on for golf on Sunday?" "I'm not sure, but I have some bad news. Right now, your daughter is out on a date with a man from work. I thought everything was okay in our relationship, but she explained she needed more and was going out with this guy. You know I love you and Maggie, but I will not put up with this, and I consider our marriage over. She broke our marriage contract, and I will not forgive her for this betrayal. I just want you to know the reason for the events that will take place. I'm sorry it has to end this way." "John, are you telling me she is going to go out with another guy? Are you sure? That doesn't sound like my girl." "Brian, I have a PI watching them right now at dinner. She is out with the bastard as we speak. She is betraying me, our marriage, and our children at this very moment. I'm sorry, this is difficult for me, but I respect you and wanted you to know the truth. John, I'm so sorry. Please don't do anything crazy. I know she loves you, and maybe you two can work this out." "Sorry, Brian. I'm done. Call you soon. Let's reschedule for next Sunday. This is shaping up to be a terrible weekend." With the cheater's address from the PI, John drove the 20 minutes over to Tommy's home to meet with Stella, his wife. She looked confused when John asked her if she was Mrs. Brooks, Tommy's wife. The 30-something mother of three opened the door in a pair of tight jeans and a lace top that displayed a wonderful pair of breasts. John forced himself to look in her eyes after she opened the door and to avoid any embarrassment. "Are you Mrs. Brooks, Tommy's wife?" "Yes. Is he okay?" "Oh, he's in excellent hands, trust me. He works with my wife. May I come in for a moment?" They sat in the living room as John delivered the news. "Mrs. Brooks, I am sorry to tell you this, but at this very moment, your loving husband Tommy and my future ex-wife are out on a date. Yes, my lovely wife explained to me just yesterday that she needed to spread her wings, and that your wonderful husband has been so nice to her that she wanted to repay him for his kindness. Are you sure you have the right man? My Tommy is at his Friday night card game. Mrs. Brooks, I would not be here if I wasn't sure. My PI is watching them at this very moment. I will have photos and video that I will share with you, but I felt you needed to know. I felt terrible when I left her crying, and I knew that their affair probably destroyed their marriage, but that's the game Tommy boy decided to play." Saturday morning. After his breakfast arrived, John sat and poured a cup of the hotel's signature coffee. The aroma was pleasing, and he smiled as he relaxed in his overstuffed bed. All the comfort and good feelings he was enjoying were replaced with repulsion and bitterness as he opened the photos from the PI on his phone. The only good news was that she was home by 1 a.m., and there were no sexual relations that evening. John's fury rose as he viewed his wife and her betrayal as tears filled his eyes. Watching the video of them kissing and her lover's hand on her ass crushed any hope for reconciliation in his mind. He also noticed that she was wearing stockings for her boyfriend and thought back to how she acted when he gave that same gift a few months ago. Her betrayal and disrespect were more than he could handle. He was overcome with humiliation and a feeling of inadequacy, which eventually turned back to anger. Obviously, Tommy talked Helen into continuing their date after dinner and accompanying him to his favorite dance club. This became her downfall in the marriage, and deep down she knew it was wrong before agreeing to go, but she wanted to have this experience, just this one time. With tears in his eyes, John felt a sadness he had never experienced before. He cried when his mom died and shed tears for some of his friends that had passed, but this was a soul-gripping pain he had never known existed. As he watched the video for the third time, pausing at the moment Tommy was rubbing her ass and allowing her stockings to be seen, he yelled out to no one, "You will pay for this." He considered everything and thought to himself, she may not have had sex with the bastard, but what she did was unacceptable, disrespectful, hurtful, and a complete betrayal of our marriage. Saturday afternoon. At 2 p.m., he met Candy at the hotel, and they spent the next 2 hours getting to know each other. John made it clear what he was looking for, and Candy was the perfect choice for his plan. They were back at his home a little after 4 p.m. and were in his bed by 5 p.m. Prior to getting into bed, John positioned the note that he had prepared for Helen, which read, "Helen, last night you broke our marriage contract and wedding vows, not to mention my heart. From the moment you broke that contract, I no longer consider us married. Yes, legally we are still together, but the contract is broken and we are now both free to do as we please. I plan to take the master bedroom, as this is my home. You are welcome in any of the other rooms in the house, but are no longer welcome in my bed. Your clothes and things are in the guest rooms. Please honor my personal space. You got what you wanted, your freedom, and now I have mine. I hope you're happy with your decision and your new life. Love, your ex-husband, John." He took off his wedding ring and positioned it over the letter on the entryway door. Holding it up at eye level, he took one of his collector knives and put the blade through the center of the ring, through the letter, and buried it deep into the wooden door. This would be the first thing Helen saw when she came home that evening. 6:10 p.m. When Helen came home from work, she noticed the knife in the door and was concerned at the sight. Obviously, something like that would send a chill to a normal person. She approached the door slowly, looking around for anything else out of place. When she got closer, she saw the note that was addressed to her with John's wedding ring. Her heart raced, and her tears started flowing as she read the letter. With the ring and letter in her hand, she ran into the house looking for John to tell him she didn't want him to leave her. She called out his name in the dark house as she stood in the hallway sobbing. The house was quiet except for some sounds coming from the bedroom. She walked up the stairs and listened at the door to the sounds of lovemaking and opened the door in anger to find a young sexy woman riding her husband cowboy style, as her large breasts bounced up and down. She stood in front of the bed in shock, watching this young girl riding her husband's cock in their marital bed. Helen was angry beyond words and screamed at her husband. "How could you? You bastard!" She screamed as she ran out of the house into her car. With anger and tears falling from her eyes, she drove over to her sister Mary's house. After she got there and was able to stop crying, she explained to Mary how she caught her husband in bed and didn't know where else to go. Her sister tried to console her and calm her down. "That doesn't sound like John. Of all people, I would never think he would cheat on you. He always showed so much love for you and respected you more than any other man I know. I was always jealous of the attention and affection he gave you. This doesn't sound like him. Did anything else happen? What do you think caused this, Helen?" Crying, she spoke in a low voice. "I don't know. Maybe it's because I went out on a date last night. That's all I can think it could be." "What do you mean, that you went on a date? With whom?" "Just a guy from work. It wasn't anything sexual, just dinner and some dancing." "Sis, let me get this straight. You went out with another guy last night, had dinner, and went dancing while you left your husband alone at home? Do I really have that right?" "Well, yes, but you're making it sound bad. Are you fucking crazy? Do you really think a man like John would be okay with you going out with another guy?" I told him it was just a night out and had nothing to do with sex, just to have some fun." "Holy shit, you're a dumb slut, and I can't believe you're related to me. Now I totally understand why he has a girl in his bed, and, to tell you the truth, I don't blame him." Sobbing even more now, she held up the note that was on the door and handed it to Mary. "Oh, Helen, you fucked up big time. You may have lost your husband and ended your marriage out of selfishness and stupidity. Look, you can stay here tonight, but you have to go back to him tomorrow and straighten things out. I'll call him later and ask him to let you talk with him tomorrow, but I'm not sure it will make a difference. You need to prepare yourself for the worst, sis. I know my husband would kick me out on my ass for a stunt like that, and John is much more committed than Tom." Helen spent the night alone in Mary's guest room and cried into the late morning and got very little sleep. Mary texted John and asked him to call her right back. John always liked Mary, knew why she was calling, and returned her call. "Hi, Mary. What's up?" "Hello, John. My stupid sister is here and explained what she did in the events at your house tonight. I certainly don't blame you, and I have to say that was a fast little revenge you did there." With a short laugh, he said, "Yep, you know me, Mary. I don't put up with bullshit. I know John. Look, I know she fucked up, but she's a wreck and I can't handle her like this. You two need to talk this out tomorrow. I don't know if you're really kicking her out, and I wouldn't blame you, but if she hasn't fucked this guy yet, you might consider trying to work this out. Maybe some counseling, or maybe we get Helen some shock treatment for her defective brain. Anyway, please let her come back and talk tomorrow." Mary, of course, she can come back. This is still her home, and I didn't kick her out. She just won't be with me while she's here. I'm not upset or mad any longer. My anger has been replaced with a deep hurt from her betrayal. I'll let her talk, but no promises about the future. Right now, I hate this woman as much as I love her. The pain is in control of my feelings and emotions at this moment. It would take a miracle for me to want her back, but you know that already. You're the smart one in the family. God, I can't believe my sister thought you would be okay with her going out with some other guy. What an idiot. Be patient, and just know she loves you. Hopefully, she didn't go too far with the idiot she was with. By Mary, send her home whenever she wants. By John, you're my favorite. You know. I know. Love you. By Mary. Sunday noon. I came back from the gym to find Helen's car in the driveway and her sitting at the kitchen table. She tried to put on a smile and said, "You know we're not getting a divorce. We can work this out because we love each other." I kept silent, got a cup of coffee, and sat across from Helen, who was nervously rubbing her hands together on her lap. I took a few sips and then looked up at her, and I finally broke the silence. "That's fine with me, Helen. Divorce or no divorce, it makes no difference to me anymore. Because once you broke our marriage contract, the marriage was over. I don't consider us as a couple any longer, and you are free to date and be with whomever you like, same as me. The only things that will change is you will not sleep in my bed, and we will not be together sexually. That ended the night you went out with your boyfriend. John, he's not my boyfriend and nothing happened. Helen, you went out on a date with a man other than your husband. You dressed like a slut, went to dinner, held hands, let him rub your ass and tits, kissed him, and spent our time together with him. You see, that's the problem. To you, what you did was nothing, but to me, it was everything. It's what ended our marriage. So, you win. No divorce if that's what you want." "No, I don't want a divorce. Give us time and I'll be back in your bed." "Now, are you done fucking the little slut you were with?" "I will not put up with that." I started laughing loudly and said, "Now that's funny. You broke our marriage contract, not me. You gave me up the minute you accepted a date with your boyfriend. You set me free the moment you got in his car and left your marriage behind. I have no intention of stopping my time with Candy. She's young, sexy, pretty, and fun. Her pussy is tight, and she's an amazing lover. To be honest, it was by far the best sex I've ever had. We did things you never offered to me, and now I know what I've been missing. Why in the world would I give that up? I'm not sure you know this yet, Helen, but last night while you were out with your boyfriend, I paid a visit to his lovely wife, Stella. Did you know they have 3 beautiful children? Never mind. I'm sure you didn't even give that a thought while you were out with your lover boy. Anyway, she told me some interesting things about Mr. Nice Guy. Did you know that you were the 3rd woman that Stella has caught him with in the last year? She also told me that Jessica Wilson, from your office, was the last married wife he cheated with and caused her divorce. Your Tommy boy has quite the history, but Stella told me she's done. She said that she finally realized that once a cheater, always a cheater. I guess you're in that category now as well. I'm thinking you could have found a better lover to cheat on me with, but I'm not a cheater and wouldn't know. It looks like you and Tommy boy succeeded in breaking up 2 families with 5 children. Nice work." That shocked her, and I could see how she realized that the guy she decided to risk her marriage with was just another sleazy guy looking for sex. She was angry at herself for her stupidity, and hearing that Tommy had broken up other families had horrified her. She had so anger inside that she lost control and yelled at her husband. "John, he's not my boyfriend, and you have to stop saying that. I can't believe you went to her house and told her that he was cheating on her. My God, it was just dinner. You really are cruel and hurtful. And what about you? Being with another woman in my home is unforgivable. That has to stop. It was just a dinner? Did you forget about the dirty dancing, kissing, and fondling at the club?" I promised Stella a copy of all the photos and videos which she can use when Tommy tries to explain that it was just dinner like you did to me. I realize that in your mind that's not cheating, but to the rest of the normal world, that is exactly the definition of cheating. Giving yourself to someone outside your marriage is a betrayal. When will you get that through your thick skull? So you think I'm cruel and hurtful? I'm curious. How do you define what you did, loving and caring? No, I'll not give up my time with Candy, and if you can't accept that, you don't have to be here. No, John, I want you to stop seeing her and be with me. I won't see anybody else. I promise. You promise? Oh, you promise. I see. That's funny. You promised to be my wife, forsaking all others, and that promise got blown out of the water, didn't it? So Helen, the way I see it is if you don't like the arrangement, you are free to leave or divorce. Maybe you can go move in with your lover because you will need a new place to live too. The way I see it, you two deserve each other. Well, you can stay here, or maybe you can move in with your sister, Mary. I'm sure she would just love to have you live there. You would be a great role model for her girls. John, are you going to stop seeing that tramp? Don't you love me? Don't you want to get back together and be with me? Helen, it's way too late for that. The moment you told me you wanted to be with another man, you killed me. Do I love you? I'm full of love but low on trust. I'm not sure if I can ever trust and love someone that can throw me away so easily. No real man would ever allow his wife to be with another man, but you went and did just that. You announced to me that you wanted to be with a man outside our marriage and that you were going to do it no matter what I said. Now that you opened our marriage, you will have to live with my desires as well. And right now, I desire to be with Candy, a young sexy girl that does things for me that I never even dreamed of. I guess seeing me happy with another woman doesn't feel too good, does it? Well, now you know some of my pain, and now you're going to reap what you sowed. Payback is a bitch, but too fucking bad. Furthermore, as far as divorce goes, that's up to you. We can stay together as roommates and see where things go, or you can just give me the go-ahead and I'll have divorce papers ready in a week. Your call, sweetheart, makes no difference to me, I said with an authoritative tone. She knew how serious I was and wasn't about to challenge me at that moment. For the next month, I brought Candy home and into my bed every weekend. We fucked several times a day, and it was spectacular. Her shaved pussy was pure heaven, and she made me feel good and helped me re-establish the confidence that Helen's betrayal caused me to lose. Helen hated the weekends and begged me to stop seeing Candy, but I continued the fun. Helen left as soon as Candy and I got home Saturday night, and she didn't come back until Candy had left. I made an agreement with Helen to send her a text after Candy left. I had to admit I was enjoying the sex as well as the pain Helen was feeling, but there was some guilt sneaking back into my soul. The following week, after realizing that it was just sex with Candy, albeit great sex, I realized there was no real intimacy, and the money I was paying was getting a little too expensive. After Helen came back on Sunday night, I announced that I wasn't seeing Candy for a while, and said I was going to look for another girl to be with. Helen begged me to take her back and to stop going out with other women. She said she knows she made a mistake and doesn't want anyone else but me in her life. John, you punished me enough. Every week I had to see this girl come into my home and be with the only man I love. The pain is too great, and I can't stand to watch you with another woman. Please give me a chance. I know I can't compete with a girl like that, but I can give you love and things nobody else can. Her comment took aback me. Love? Do you even know what that is, Helen? Love isn't turning your back on your spouse to announce you're going to date other men. No. I don't think you know what love really is, and therefore, there is no way to give something you don't have. But I'll tell you what I will do. I won't date anyone until we get some couples counseling. If we can figure things out, then maybe we can have a future together. She jumped off the couch and hugged me and kissed every part of my face and finally my lips. Oh, thank you, baby. I promise I'll make this up to you. Not so fast. I'm not forgiving you for what you've done. I'm just giving us one last chance before I dump your cheating ass. John, don't talk like that. You love me, and I know we will always be together. Can I sleep with you tonight, please? She said, kissing me. No, not yet. I still see the images of you with that guy in my head. The image of you kissing another man and letting him touch parts of you, which were rightfully mine, still haunts me every minute of the day. I'm beyond angry at you for recklessly hurting me and throwing our marriage away. You're extremely fortunate our kids don't know about this, or I wonder what would think of their slut mother. You can tell I'm still angry at what you've done. Let's go slow and see how it goes with counseling. I made the appointment with Dr. Madison for that Tuesday and started the fun journey of reliving the event, the pain, and the agony twice a week for the next 3 months. It was the same therapy crap you've read in every other story, and just as painful. I had to relive the affair and then listen to all the psychobabble for hours on end. Life would have been so much easier if only she had just remained faithful to her vows, but I guess that was too much to ask for. After 3 months of counseling twice a week, we worked it out. Helen saw how much pain and hurt she had caused, and she understood my reaction. She complained that my revenge fuck was much worse, but I explained that she broke our contract and gave me my freedom the moment she accepted a date with another man. Eventually, she understood, but still wasn't happy. The counselor, however, gave me a great deal of grief for my revenge, but I really didn't give a shit. I would do it again in a heartbeat. I took her back with a post-nuptial agreement, where she gives up everything for any extramarital affair. She agreed to a GPS tracker on her phone, access to her email and text messages, in full honesty with no obfuscation. I explained that there would be a zero-tolerance policy in our home and would kick her out for any type of infidelity, emotional or physical. She told me she never even allows another man to flirt with her again, and she would forever remain faithful. I listed but kept hearing Stella's words: once a cheater, always a cheater. A year later, we were back to where things were before her escapade, but now I kept a much closer eye on my spouse, knowing that this could happen again. Her sister Mary and I worked together to make sure Helen didn't lose her way again. Tommy's divorce was expensive. His wife kicked him out, got the house, child support for 3 children, and alimony. Tommy was now living in a studio apartment with no extra money after he paid for his infidelity. Ironically, Tommy lost everything for dinner, a few dances, some grab-ass, and a few kisses. What a schmuck. Helen was mortified when she learned about Tommy's previous affairs and how he caused Jennifer's divorce. When she learned that Tommy had cheated on his wife and family with several other women, she realized how her stupidity almost ruined her life and the love from her family. She would never make the mistake again and was committed to proving her love to John and the children. True to her word, she remained faithful. As hard as she tried, she could not get the sight of that young girl riding her husband's cock and would never give him a chance to do that again. He belonged to her, after all. Too bad for Tommy boy, but cheating with a married woman can be an expensive hobby. It can be painful as well if he had picked the wrong husband. He was fortunate that John wasn't that man, but had he followed through and fucked his wife, well, things would have had a very different ending. The funny thing about the unwilling cuckolds is that they never forget and eventually get revenge. One night 2 years after he divorced his wife, Jennifer, from Helen's office, Douglas the unwilling cuckold was in the pub's parking lot when Tommy was about to enter his car. About an hour later, another patron from the pub found Tommy boy face down, unconscious on the pavement with 2 broken arms, a broken rib, and punctured testicles. Time would tell if Tommy boy ever learned his lesson.
Dear listener, if you have reached this far, please click on the subscribe button. It will be a great help.